Let's go over my credit score goal. First, bad credit score is 300 to 579. Fair is 580 to 669. Good is 670 to 739. Very good is 740 to 799. And excellent is 800 to 850. Earlier this year in March or April, I was here, and that's all because of credit utilization. The rest of the things on my credit account don't look bad at all. My credit cards just had high balances. Right now, I'm in the good credit score category. I'm around 700. My goal would be to be in this very good category, 740 or over. 800 or 850 would be awesome, but really all I need it to be is around 740. That way I get decent interest rates if I'm going to get mortgages. It most likely will allow me to increase my credit lines and things like that. So that's where I would really want to be. And if your credit score is bad or fair because of credit utilization, it's not super hard to get it up to the good or very good categories. You just need to pay down some of that credit card debt, which requires finding some money to do that. But once you do that, your score goes up pretty quickly. So let me know, where are you at and where are you trying to be?
I felt I would report on this story that I saw on the internet in The Atlantic, despite the fact that just about no financial advice or tips or anything that I talk about or publish, just about none of it actually makes it through YouTube's censorship or YouTube's algorithm, or basically them playing games with, the information that gets through. But I'm going to make it anyway. So the story is parents are gaming their kids' credit scores. Like a long time ago, I used to actively come on here regularly. I used to talk about credit scores. I used to talk about stocks. And then I realized, I was like, you know what? Thanks to YouTube and its algorithm, that information's really not going anywhere. So those videos barely did numbers. So I just stopped doing it. And that's really, it's really sad that because of the games that they play, that it actually disincentivizes people from making videos. And I kind of pointed that out in my community chat when I was talking about Graham Stephen and his channel. And a lot of the video, now this guy has got over 4 million subscribers, right? But he's basically quit making videos for the most part because none of his videos are making numbers. And in not making the numbers, he's obviously lost a significant amount of whatever revenue he was getting. Now, fortunately, he's a smart dude. He took most of his money and he put it towards, real estate. So whatever job he had, he used his YouTube money very wisely and he basically invested it. I took my YouTube money and I started putting it into stocks, because I realized, I was like, you know what? I can just build dividend-paying stock portfolios, and this will turn into more money later. And it's kind of like a glorified savings account. In fact, we're supposed to get paid from YouTube, I believe. First of all, today's the 20th, so usually we get paid on the 21st. The latest I remember getting paid was the 23rd, but the money is basically in the mail. It just either comes tomorrow or it'll come on the 22nd, but probably it'll come tomorrow since today was a holiday. But bottom line is, you have to invest in the future. And not only that, especially if you have children, you have to invest in their future. I talk about stock portfolios and stuff and how to start building a stock portfolio for my younger cousins with their parents who are, my relatives. And, I talked to them a lot about this, and I explained to them how they should do it if they want to build a portfolio for their kid to get them started in the future. But one of the things that nobody really talks about much is building credit. And I saw this article, and I figured I'd add it because I think the last article I had talked about that had anything to do with this was the fact that Mayor Eric Adams of New York City wanted to start financial literacy in public schools, to which I reply, yeah, you can try to teach public literacy, but as long as these kids are spending money that is being given to them by their parents and they're wasting a large percent of it on smartphones, TikTok, and buying stuff online, financial literacy really can't be taught. I feel financial literacy really begins when these kids are forced to get a job and forced to budget and sacrifice their own money in order to have some of the things that they want, but forced to sacrifice mostly for the things that they need. So here you have them talking about credit. Now, anybody who's followed me long enough, they know, number one, I got an 850 credit score. In fact, I could show that again. I could show you what mine looks like. My credit history at this point is pretty much perfect. It didn't always used to be that way. And I've told the story numerous times. When I was in college, my credit score was only like 530. So this was back in, say, 2005. And in 2005, I had basically a 530. I had to get my first car. My first car was a 2006 Chrysler 300. It was a V6 model. It was a 27,000, or at least Major World wanted $27,000 for it. But since I had shit credit, I was paying over $700 a month for this $27,000 car. And I had an interest rate somewhere around like 18%. It was a very, very high interest rate. Let's just say that. I think it was like 17.99 or something like that. And I paid on it. I got the car. I paid on that interest rate, even though it was high. And gradually, I slowly started building up my credit because I had to pay off a defaulted credit card, which was Discover. I owed them like $5,000 and I didn't pay them, so it went into default. I had my wages garnished, and they were taking money out of my check every single time I got my paycheck. They were taking money out to pay Discover. And on top of that, I was paying back a loan that went towards my first house. And on top of that, I was trying to slowly pay down other basic little debts. So yeah, it was like, I was fortunate because when I started working, I was making about $50,000 a year. So I had a little bit of money coming in, and I was living with parents. So, it was like I didn't have major overhead. But when I decided, I want to move out and I want to have a car to drive back and forth to work, you have to sacrifice. But see, now you've got these kids, they're spending top dollar on smartphones that, their parents are buying them. And they're spending top dollar on clothes. They're spending top dollar on everything. Headphones from Apple. They're walking around $500 headphones. They walk around $250 headphones. If something happens to their cell phone, they got to run out and buy a new cell phone. This is the problem with credit. And this is the thing that I've always talked about. And I'm not gonna rant too much, but the problem that I see with credit is that people don't really care about their credit. What they want is they want good credit so that they can go out and go deeper into debt. Most of the people right now who want to repair their credit, they only want to do it because they went to probably a car dealership and got told no, or they went to one of those real estate offices because they were trying to buy a property and they were told no. In addition to that, more recently, credit checks have become prevalent in renting apartments and Airbnb and such. When you try to rent things now they're checking your credit because they don't trust you. So a lot of people have shit credit, so they can't even rent anything. Or the deposits are so high, they can't afford to put down the cash for the deposit. The bottom line is they don't trust you. Credit is about trust. I believe in the very beginning, the reason why they needed credit, they designed credit scores in the first place, was so farmers could actually get loans because there was no other way to determine who was creditworthy and who wasn't. But the bottom line is it comes down to trust. And a lot of you cannot be trusted. A lot of you will spend money you don't have. And when it comes time to pay the piper, oh, I don't have it. You can wait until next Thursday. That's when it's like nobody's trying to hear that. They want their money now. And that's the reason why, and I'll also say this because, I'm ranting a little bit. If people come to you for personal loans, depending upon who it is, you shouldn't be giving them any money. That's the bottom line. Let them go to the bank. See, you watch Judge Judy, you watch all these judge shows. There's a whole lot of people who go into these courts and they owe petty amounts of money. And, they end up losing the case either because it wasn't written down or because it was proven that they were given the money and that they just never made any effort to pay it back. What you do, let those people go to the bank. Because if they go to the bank is going to lend them the money, but the bank's going to charge them interest for it. And these people don't want to hear that. In fact, most of them are trying to say interest is racist and interest is sexist. No, it's not. The reason why there's interest on these loans is because they don't trust you. You're part of a high risk. They think that you either can't hold a job, don't hold a job, or if you're coming to them for money in the first place, it's like, why are you coming to us? You should have your own money. Why aren't you saving? And that's the bottom line. It's about trust. It's about risk. People come to you for a personal loan. You really should think about that very carefully. You should tell them, no. You go over to the bank, and the bank will hook you right up with the personal loan, and you'll sign a promissory note. And if anything happens and you decide to default, the bank's coming right after your ass. And that's the reason why they'd rather come to you for money, because they know that the bank ain't going to give them nothing because the bank don't trust them. The bank knows they have a bad history, or because you're not going to be able to charge them interest. So the bottom line is, it's like, you got to be very careful with that. So anyway, let me stop diverging. Let me just read part of this. It says, several years ago, Hannah Case decided to examine her personal credit history. Case, who was then a researcher at the Federal Reserve, hadn't gotten her first credit card until she was 22. But as she discovered when she saw her file, she'd apparently been spending responsibly since 14. After looking into how that could be, she learned that her parents had added her as an authorized user on their credit card. That made their spending and payment habits a part of her credit history too, and likely gave Case a starting credit score that was, as she recalls it, already fairly high. Credit scores are meant to be the neutral measures of someone's financial reliability, but in practice, they're an easy way for some better-off families to give their children an early financial advantage. A range of services promises to help parents ensure that their kids enter adulthood armed with good credit scores. On TikTok, oh God, fucking TikTok ban lasted 1 hour. On TikTok, generational wealth influencers tout the benefits of authorized usership. Fintech startups such as Greenlight and GoHenry advise parents on establishing a credit history for their children. And financial institutions such as Austin Capital Bank promise to improve children's future credit scores with programs that allow parents to authorize the bank to take out and automatically repay loans in their child's name. Let me just stop right there. It says Austin Capital Bank promised to improve children's future credit scores with programs that allow parents to authorize the bank to take out and automatically repay loans in their child's name. You see, the problem with credit is that credit is tracking your individual behavior. If your parents are financially savvy, yeah, that's fantastic. But as you see it in the story, this person didn't even realize that her parents had set this up. Her parents did not teach her financial responsibility. What her parents did was they set up an account behind her back. There have been a lot of cases where some parents have been challenged by their kids because their parents used their kid's name to build a credit history. And then what they did was they used their child and their child's credit in order to buy stuff, and the kid didn't know anything about it. Some of the times that this has happened, everything was fine. Some of the times that this has happened, the parents defaulted and drove down the kid's credit score before they even really got started. And then at that point, what are you supposed to do? You can't sue your mom. You can't sue your father, right? Well, I know some of them would, but the thing about it is you really can't do that, especially, God forbid, especially if you're living with them. These parents are not teaching financial responsibility. What they're doing is they're gaming the system. They're building up their credit in order to give them advantage. So by the time maybe that they get to college, that they'll have really good credit. I didn't get my first credit card till I went to college. I was in college, and then they have those little desks and tables set up where they're always trying to get you to recruit to be a cop, or they're trying to get you to recruit for credit cards, or they're trying to get you to recruit for something. And that's when I got my first credit card. I don't remember exactly what the first credit card I had was, but the bottom line is I absolutely abused it. And I'll admit it. I was buying, I was working, what was it, Circuit City? And I was buying all types of electronic technology and toys and stuff. And I was probably spending more money than I was actually earning. And that's one of the big mistakes, because when you start with credit and you start building up your credit card count, like you have multiple credit cards, I think for whatever reason, the brain believes that the credit availability is equal to the amount of money that you actually have, when it's actually the very opposite. The credit availability that you have is the amount of possible debt that you can go into. And it's going to cost you way more than that, thanks to interest, to get out of that debt. Let me hurry up. Many parents are taking advantage of these tools. In 2019 poll commissioned by the consumer financial advice website creditcards.com, 8% of the roughly 1,500 American parents surveyed said that at least one of their minor children had a credit card, presumably through authorized usership, because kids under 18 can't get their own credit card. And data from TransUnion last year showed that nearly 700,000 22 to 24-year-olds had authorized user accounts. Trying to build credit for kids who haven't graduated from high school isn't necessarily new. But as wages stagnate and home ownership slips out of reach, financial well-being has become more complicated and more precarious for young adults. Ashley LeBaron Black, a family life professor at Brigham Young University, told me parents recognize that and are trying to prepare their kids. These days, your score doesn't just determine your access to a credit card alone. It is your pass key to successful participation in society at large, influencing which job or apartment you can get and how much you might pay for car insurance or a security deposit. But not everyone is set up to receive a good score. Research on the topic is scant, but the scholars I spoke with told me that credit scores are closely tied to race and intergenerational wealth. Okay, specifically, let me just stop right there. I'm a black male. I got an 850 credit score. And as I've said, my shit was 530 when I was in college. And what I did was everything I had to do to bring my credit score up. Credit scores track your behavior. If you spend poorly and you don't save and you don't pay off your debts and pay down your debts, it doesn't matter what your skin color is. And I'm going to be the first to say that I'm a big black man. I'm dark black. I'm not even one of these black people who's questionable like Barack Obama, whose mama was white. No. Credit ain't got nothing. I'm going to say it like this. The credit score you have has nothing to do with your skin color. And I'm going to show my credit score at the end of this video just to continue to push my point. I'm sitting on, right now out my window, I'm looking, I got an $80,000 Jeep that's sitting out there paid off. I paid my Jeep off early. I refinanced my houses to make sure that I paid them off early. I got a Cadillac sitting out there that's an $80,000 Cadillac sitting out there, electric fucking Cadillac sitting out there. And I got dark black skin. My credit score had nothing to do with my skin color. Nothing to do at all. This has nothing to do with your sex. It has nothing to do with if you're a man or a woman. Now, if you're a woman out there buying Birkin and Coach and Gucci and Prada and all that bullshit, and you're running up credit and you've got fucked up credit, that's your fault. It's got nothing to do with your gender. I've had friends who fucked their credit up because of Sprint and Nextel. I've told the stories before. I've had friends who had psychotic girlfriends, and what they would do is they'd buy them a phone, buy themselves a phone, and their girlfriends would make them keep the phone running all day long. We're sitting in the bank office, and they'd make them run the phone all day long so that they could listen in and make sure that they weren't talking to any other women while they're at work. And I'm like, isn't that costing you money? Because this was back in the day when you had like minutes and stuff. They were actually tracking the minutes. It wasn't unlimited. And they ruined their credit. Ruined it. It ain't got nothing to do with your skin color. It ain't got nothing to do with your sex. It ain't got nothing to do with your ethnicity. You could be Hispanic. You could be non-Hispanic. It doesn't matter what you are. If you are buying things on credit and paying it off immediately, and you're not buying stupid shit and running revolving debt, no, your credit score will go up. It's just that simple. Let me keep on going. Oh, and by the way, and I'm going to mention this also later, not only do you have to build up your credit score, you also need to build up your insurance. Your insurance at this point is kind of like a credit score. Again, credit scores track behavior. They don't track your skin color. They don't track your gender. They don't care about any of that. They're simply asking, do you pay back your loans on time? And that's the bottom line. Credit scores and insurance. You have to build both your credit scores and your insurance. You have to build your car insurance. If you have a house, you need to build your home insurance. But that's not so important. The really important thing is you need to build your credit score and you need to build your car insurance. Now, this whole thing about authorized users, and I don't mind talking about myself. My mom took out a credit card. I think it was a Chase or something. And she made me an authorized user on it. And she did that because I was going overseas and I was going to be overseas for a while because I was living in China. And to this day, I'm still an authorized user on one of her cards. Here's the problem, though. Because I'm an authorized user on one of her cards, the problem is my credit is actually better than hers. But when she spends money, I know about it because it shows up on my credit score. You see, one of the things about this authorized user nonsense is the simple fact is if something happens to her and she defaults on credit loans or whatever it is, they're coming after me because I'm also on that account or I'm an authorized user on that account. It would work backwards the same way if I were to spend up money on her the Chase card and didn't pay it off. They'd come after both of us. They're going to come after me, obviously. They're going to come after her too, because your credit score is really supposed to be a reflection of just yourself. I've noticed a lot of married couples are financially, I guess the proper word would be separated. And you have a lot of these married couples, especially the ones where you got somebody married and they've got children from a different relationship. A lot of these married couples, they don't want their finances intertwined, and they're smart for doing that too. Now, me personally, I could never marry somebody who thinks that they don't need to have their finances intertwined with me. But the bottom line is that's happening more and more and more. You've got people with separate finances. And the reason why they're trying to keep their finances as separate as possible is simply because they don't want to have to deal with some baby mama out there or some baby daddy out there who happens to be connected to you, and now you're connected to them through marriage, and now the baby daddy or the baby mama is connected to them. They don't want that. Your credit score is supposed to be a reflection of you. It's not supposed to be a reflection of you and your kids. No, it's supposed to be a reflection of you. I have a very simple rule. Never co-sign for shit. If you co-sign for anything, now you're worried about this other person. Now, people who've been divorced, they already understand what I'm saying, because when you co-sign with somebody, that house is not just in your name, but now it's in her name and your name. So if she decides to go out there and screw somebody else, you could end up getting kicked out of your own house. Or what most likely happens is you end up having to sell the property and now you got to buy her out of it. Or she has to sell it and buy you out of it. Either way, you're splitting up whatever this asset is. My house got one name on it. It got just one name on it. Both my houses got but one name on it. If you look at my car titles, they got but one name on it. It's my name, nobody else's name. Never co-sign for shit. And now this is the tough one. You can't even co-sign with your kids. Your kids will fuck your credit up. They will go to these colleges. They'll run up student loan debt. They'll get you in a way where you couldn't even see it coming. They'll run up student loan debt. They'll not graduate on time. Oh, but man, yeah, I just need one more semester. They'll be in school 6 or 7 fucking years. They're in a 4-year school. And you know what I'm talking about, because everybody probably knows somebody who I'm talking about. They go to a 4-year school, and now they're in there 6 or 7 years. COVID was the perfect example because COVID basically added a year onto everybody's school. Or for the smart ones who got things done immediately, remotely, COVID may have taken away a year. But for most of them, no, it added a year. But I just need one more year. Problem is, you let this kid go away to some party school. Now you in for another $20,000 a semester. Never co-sign for shit. Never. Don't, like it's to that point where you got to basically, your credit is supposed to be a reflection of you. It's really hard to say stuff like that, but the bottom line is you need to hear it. Because this is the reason why I don't believe in teaching financial literacy in public schools or schools I just don't believe in it. Because what I'm going to say, if I was the teacher and I'm telling you the truth, you're not going to want to hear that shit. You're not going to, oh, but me and my wife, we go by the Bible. It says we cleaved unto each other and we became one flesh. Yeah, well, guess what? That one flesh can go out and fuck somebody else. And then when you find out about it and you want to get rid of it, now you can't because now you're going to lose half your shit. Nobody wants to hear that. I understand. It's hard. Nobody wants to hear that. Your kids can screw your credit up too. Oh my God. You know what the perfect example that I'm talking about is? Not even just your credit, your car insurance. Just by having that kid in your house with access to your car insurance goes up. And now, here in New York, now I don't know what state you live in, because everybody maybe live in different state, it may be different prices and everything, because I know if you live in some states, car insurance is relatively low. I've had at least 2 friends and at least 2 coworkers ask, oh, who do you use for car insurance? Oh, yeah, my car insurance went up. And I'm like, chances are it's because of your daughter. And they're like, yeah, well, she's ordinary. But there's no reason for them to raise it up that high. Yeah, there is. Your daughter is a new driver. Your car insurance is a reflection of you. It's a reflection of your behavior. How many accidents have you been in? Do you pay your car insurance on time? What's your credit score? Your credit score, your car insurance, that's a reflection of you. Never co-sign for shit. This is the reason I don't believe in teaching financial literacy. Nobody's listening. When you start saying things like that, nobody wants to hear what you're saying. And that's the problem that I have. And I said it before, because I made a video about this a couple of days ago. That's the problem. Nobody wants to hear that. Everybody wants to hear that everything is going great, everything's going to be hunky-dory, and if it doesn't go well, it's because you're a racist and you're a sexist and the bank don't want to give me a loan. That's what everybody wants to think. The reality is that's not how this works. The way how this works is you're supposed to maintain pristine credit. You're supposed to maintain as good car insurance as possible by not getting into accidents, by paying on time, and by not buying shit you can't afford. Now, that carries over to even the car you drive. Oh, yeah, I could have ran out and bought a more expensive car, but that more expensive car carries more expensive car insurance. So now, by pushing my budget to the limit, now I'm leaving myself vulnerable to cost of living increases. And this is the reason why I don't believe in teaching financial literacy, because nobody's trying to hear that. They want to go out there and buy a Mercedes GLE AMG 63. They want to go out there and buy this fucking Hellcat. They want to go out there and buy a Scat Pack. They want to go out there and buy a BMW Competition M3 with carbon ceramic brakes. They want to go out there and buy this Range Rover. I don't even say the double, like it's not Range Rover. No, it's Range Rover with a W. That's what they want. I want to get a new Range Rover. I love when they go into that Range Rover and they start sitting down talking about how much that lease is going to be and how much they insure. Because, see, when you go in to buy a car, you got to call that insurance company with that VIN number. That's one of the most important things when you go to buy a car. You got to get that VIN number. Got to call up the insurance company. Excuse me, yes, hello, Geico. How much does it cost to insure this car? And then you give them the VIN number, and then they tell you how much it's going to cost to insure that car. See, that's the part nobody want to hear. That insurance score part, that's what kills most of these car deals. That's the reason why Dodge Chrysler is having so much trouble moving these $80,000 and $90,000 cars, because the insurance is sky high. These Hellcats, that's like $500 a month. When I bought mine, it was like $315. A lot of these people now, like I know people who are paying more to drive some stupid, lame 4-cylinder Honda Accord or Toyota Camry. They're paying more per month than I'm paying on a fucking truck that's a race truck. This Jeep SRT is a race truck, and they're paying more than I am per month because their credit sucked or because their kids are on their credit. I know people who are paying more than me. I got 2 cars on this insurance. I know people who are paying more than me because their kids are on their insurance. And maybe sometimes the kid doesn't have an accident. Sometimes they have the accident on themselves. But the thing about it is their kids are on the insurance and they have an accident. Oh, no. We're going to have to raise that. Yeah, see, this is the part nobody want to hear. That's the problem. That right there is the problem. You can't teach financial literacy. People need to experience financial literacy. You know what the problem is? It's subjective. Everybody does not have the same situation. Everybody does not have teenage drivers in the house. Everybody does not have some kid at a party school using credit cards that are in your name. It's highly subjective. And the more that you explain to people how to make it more objective, they don't want to hear it. But that's the problem, and that's it right there. So let's see, where was I? Influencing which job or apartment you can get and how much you might pay for car insurance or a security deposit. Just getting an apartment, they're going to check your credit score because they don't trust you. They take one look at you, they don't trust you. They're going to check your credit score. They're going to check it. But not everyone is set up to receive a good score. Research on the topic is scant, but scholars I spoke with told me that credit scores were closely tied to race and intergenerational wealth. Yeah, okay. Specifically, who has a legacy of wealth in their family and who does not. And that the gap between who gets a good score and who does not can start forming when people are still young. 18 to 20-year-olds from white, 18 to 20-year-olds from white majority communities start out with credit scores 24 points higher than those from black major communities. A report from the Urban Institute, a nonprofit research organization, found the paper didn't mention the affluence of these communities, but on average, white households are wealthier than black ones. Yes, we know white. All right, first of all, a lot of white households are going to be wealthier than black ones because, first of all, a lot of white people live in segregated fucking areas, for one. And that goes, there is a history of racism. There is a history of housing segregation. I'm not going to deny that. But as far as the new credit score systems go, TransUnion, Equifax, and Experian, no, if their credit scores are higher than yours, no, it's not because of no fucking intergenerational wealth. No, it's because they were paying their bills on time. When you were spending money that you didn't have to try to have the same thing that those wealthier people had, you were driving your credit score into the ground. I know a lot of wealthy people. And the thing about it is most of them, they don't spend their money in a way where you see them really spend their money. Like, I know wealthy people and I know people who could be wealthy, but they waste all of their fucking money in goddamn casinos. I know people who are poor, but you would think that they have more than they let on because what they do is they buy things that are very expensive trying to show off. $500 sneakers, $500 headphones, expensive ass clothing, Birkin bags, Coach, Gucci, Prada, Femi, all that shit. Thing about it is, I know people who are broke and they try to live like they're wealthy, and they try to drive cars that are way more than they should be driving. So therefore, because you got to understand, if you buy an expensive car, you go out there buy a Mercedes-Benz, BMW, it doesn't even matter if the shit is off lease and you're saving money on it because it's $50,000 instead of being $100,000. Bottom line is, you still gonna pay high ass car insurance. First of all, your credit has to be good enough to get that loan, and then your car insurance is going to be sky high. When people live like that and they live above their means, yeah, their credit is usually a fucking mess. But can't tell them nothing because, again, this is something you can't teach. It's not easy to teach sacrifice. You can't do that. That's a personal decision. It's highly subjective. Highly subjective. All right, so anyway, where am I? But this whole thing about trying to make me a victim because I'm black, yeah, well, guess what? I've got an 850 credit score, and I don't know a single white person. I don't know a single white person who got a credit score like me. As soon as we start talking about credit, I put, you know what? This is my thing, and people who know me know it's true. I pull my phone out, and I'm like, here, yo, you want to see my credit score? Watch this. Pull out my phone, and I let them numbers tick. That shit goes straight to 850, and you're seeing it right there, so you know, oh, shit, this guy's got an 850 credit score. Yeah, so show me the white man with a 24-point higher than my credit score. I got an 850. There is no higher than that. It's like, I don't need you trying to make me a victim with that DEI bullshit. The bottom line is, you're wasting money. You don't listen when somebody's telling you to stop wasting money, and that's why your credit's a mess. All right, so anyway, this disparity deepens as people get older. In 2021, black Americans, here we go, had a median credit score of 639. Not me. Mine was 850. Where were you? Okay, anyway, compared with 730 for white Americans. 730 for white Americans. Well, your score is low compared to mine. Mine's 850. And 752 for Asian Americans. Really? Why is your score so low? Mine's 850. And I'm black. What you got to say about that? It says the maximum score is 850. And another paper found that people in the lowest income bracket had an average credit score more than 150 points below that of their highest earning peers. Yeah, 550 and below. What is it? From what I remember off the top of my head, you have to have like a 780 to be considered excellent. Anything below 780, I think is considered good, right up until about 700. I think it's like between 700 and 780 is good, and then 780 and above is excellent or pristine or whatever they want to say. But see, there's other issues here, because some people, especially people who've got issues, they act like they don't need credit. And I've argued with these people. I don't even bother arguing with them anymore, because the thing about it is, you absolutely need credit. If you're telling me they're going to check your credit to get a fucking job, or they're going to check your credit before you get an Airbnb, or they're going to check your credit before you get an apartment, yeah, your credit score is something you really have to have. So I don't have that issue, because me personally, I use my credit card every single day, and I pay it off every single night. The moment that shit gets posted and there's a balance, I pay it right off. A lot of people don't have that level of discipline. And because they don't have that level of discipline, and you can't tell them, you try to tell them, yeah, you need to pay the shit off every night, then they want to start fucking arguing with you. I don't have time to argue with poor people. I really don't. I try to tell you, I say, listen, pay the shit off every night. Do not run any revolving balances. Do not pay any interest whatsoever. That's how you save money. They don't want to hear that. Oh, you don't have to pay it off every night. You can wait till the end of the month. No. You need to pay that shit off every night. The loans that you have for houses and cars, you want to work on paying those off early. Why? Because that reduces your debt to income ratio quicker. You can't tell these people. You can't teach these people literacy. I live in a country, my country, the United States of America. This country is $36 trillion fucking dollars in debt. $36 trillion in debt. That's an ungodly amount of debt. Ungodly. It's an unfathomable amount of debt. It's an amount of debt that you can't even imagine. And you think that this government can teach people financial literacy? Excuse me. The government is $36 trillion in debt. How the fuck is somebody who's $36 trillion in debt going to teach you anything about financial literacy? Huh? Yeah, right. Okay. Credit scores are another way for a lot of economic, here we go, economic inequality, disparity, generational wealth gaps to just be further encoded and passed on. Yeshima Bate Milner, who the fuck? The founder of the advocacy group Data for Black Lives told me. You know what? If I was at the head of this Black Lives Credit Matters thing, I'd be telling everybody exactly the shit I'm saying now, and I wouldn't bite my tongue. And if you didn't like what I'm saying, you can take yourself through the fucking door and get out. These people are determined to make victims out of everybody and make it seem like it's the world's fault that their credit's fucked up and that they can't get an apartment, they can't get a house. No. You wasted your money and you were doing stupid shit with your credit. I'm guilty of it too. But what did I do? I said, okay, this is where I am, a 530. I'm going to stop wasting money and I'm going to build my credit as high as I can possibly build it. Can't tell these people nothing. Can't tell, well, if the white man has an AMG 63 GLS, then I should too. You know, and my thing is, no, that's keeping up with the Joneses. And that's what this country is built on. This country is built on a bunch of people trying to keep up with the Joneses. If Sally gets a new Birkin bag, you got to have one too. No. But that's why you can't teach these people financial literacy. They're determined to waste every fucking dime they get. That's the problem. You can't teach them shit. Even with that electric Cadillac I got sitting outside, I haven't paid for gas because the thing doesn't even use gas. I haven't bought gas. I haven't had to do no oil changes. I'm relatively saving money driving that car. I drive that car and I drive the car, and just driving the car is driving the car. I don't have to spend all this money that I had to spend with my SRT vehicles. And that's part of the reason why these people hate the idea of electric cars so much. It's because they're not wasteful. These people want to waste. That's the problem. You can't teach them shit. Now, meanwhile, take a look at all these foreigners coming here and driving these taxi cabs. What are they getting? They're getting Tesla Model Ys, Tesla Model 3s. Ask them how much money they're spending. Oh, no, Fendi. Oh, I don't spend much money at all. All I got to do every now and then, I just got to put on new tires. And that's it. There's no gas, no oil. And I just spend a little bit of money on the electricity, but other than that, these cars saved me a lot of money. The rest of these motherfuckers, they trying to run out and buy a goddamn gas guzzling Hellcat or a Heavy or some shit, and they trying to waste up all their money. And no, they try to buy AMG. It has to say AMG on it, or it has to say BMW competition on it. Who are you in competition with? You're broke. Anyway, what is this? Calculating credit scores is complicated. Algorithms draw on a report that includes information about all of your financial accounts and loans, as well as bankruptcies. Some factors, such as a long record of repaying debts on time and associated with higher scores. Well, it went dark. I don't know why. Let me go back. Others including a failure to meet payment Deadlines or a short credit history can nudge it down. For young people, this can mean that a good score might seem far off. Most people in their early 20s will inherently have a short history. You can't even get a score until you're 18, but authorized usership lets you begin building your report early. The mechanism which the Federal Reserve Board introduced in 1975 was originally intended not for children but for married women, who until the previous year hadn't been able to get their own credit cards. Yeah, and then I'm pretty sure if I check and see what the national debt was and how much debt women held back then, I'm pretty sure it was pretty low too. In an effort to ensure that these women's long spending and payment histories wouldn't be invisible, the Federal Reserve ruled that they could retroactively assume part of their husband's credit history. Inadvertently, this ruling also opened the door for some kids. Now, 2 of the major credit bureaus, Experian and Equifax, recommend authorized usership. Fuck that. No. As a way to improve your report and FICO. No. Authorized usership is not a good way to improve your credit score. Authorized usership is actually a good way to wreck your credit score because you have no idea what the other person's going to do. You have no idea. This is introducing an unknown variable. If your kid is on your credit, you have no idea what they're going to do. And let me add this. I've got a cousin there, because a lot of these kids have been given credit cards by their parents. I got a cousin and their parents, I'm not going to name names, gave them a credit card. What did he do? Ran that shit right up. But if you had seen my cousin and you see how he's dressed, you would think he was like a rapper or some shit. Like you'd think he's one of these Atlanta rappers, walking around dressed like the sun, wearing all this bright-ass color shit. And I'm like, what are you, a rapper? And ran that credit card right up. And a lot of parents know, anybody who's a parent, you know exactly what I'm talking about, because a lot of these parents, they giving their kids these credit cards, they ran that shit right up. It's as stupid as giving your kid access to a smartphone and then letting them know what the pass key is so that they can download shit from iTunes. Because we all know how that story ends. They end up running that shit right up. And then Apple calls you and it's like, yeah, you're going to pay for this. You're going to pay. You're on the hook. You have no idea what the other person's going to do. You have no idea. It's an unknown variable. The answer is no. So anyway, it says, confirmed to me that being an authorized user can help those who are new to credit start establishing a credit history. The company didn't specify how much of a difference it makes, but one study found that people across the age spectrum with short credit histories saw their score increase by 22.4 points after they were added as an authorized user. Of course, authorized usership, like many of the most effective ways to build credit young, works only if one's parents have a high credit score. Inheriting someone else's unpaid debts will hurt your report. Similarly, using a cosigner to get a good credit card as 3.7% of young Americans do is another option, but it's available only to those whose parents have strong credit histories. Case: the former Federal Reserve researcher found that 18 to 20-year-olds with co-signed cards had scores nearly 50 points higher than those who opened accounts by themselves, though that may be in part because the co-signees also tended to come from wealthier census tracts. On their own, once kids turn 18, they can get what is known as a secured credit card by making an upfront cash deposit. But that does little to build their report compared with what being an authorized user on an American Express Gold card could ever do. First of all, secured credit cards are bullshit. I've never had a secured credit card, but I understand exactly what they are. A secured credit score is just another example of them not trusting you. When they say secured credit card, they're saying, yeah, you give us $2,000 and we'll give you a credit card that has a $2,000 limit. The security is your cash is built into this card. They don't trust you. What you're basically doing is giving them money, and then they're allowing you to spend that. But what you're doing is you're building a credit history based on them not trusting you, and you're giving them money for them to give you a credit card that allows you to use a credit card and start building a credit history. That is like one of the most extreme cases of you needing to build a credit history and try to build a credit history. And I've had friends like that. They ask me to go with them because they're looking for cars. I had one specifically. She pulled her credit report, and her credit report came back zero. And I had never seen a zero before. I didn't even know that was possible. But it said zero on one of the reporting bureaus, and then the other one is like no credit history. Why did that happen? Well, this was a married woman. She had gotten a divorce, but when she was married, she never held credit. Her husband basically was cash and carry. So by not building any credit at all, she had no history of credit in this country. So yeah, it is possible to have a no credit history. It is possible to have zero credit. It absolutely is possible. I've seen it. But I told her, I was like, listen, if you have no credit history and you want to buy a car, they'll still be able to qualify you to get a loan. The problem is they're going to charge you very high interest for it. She didn't go through with it. She went many years with no car. Eventually, she bought like a used Japanese, old beater, by saving up some cash. And maybe that was the best thing for her. But the thing about it is she didn't build her credit history. And that was the thing. And I was like, listen, you need to build your credit history. Oh, no, I don't do that. It's like, listen, I said you need to build your credit history, and then you start talking all this bullshit that I don't want to hear about. I've gotten to the point where I'm not arguing with poor people. It's like you keep on riding around in that beat up fucking Toyota Camry that's got like 190,000 miles on it. And I'm going to get over here in my electric Cadillac that drives itself. I don't feel like arguing. It's like you can't teach these people anything. They're not listening. You could try, but they're just not. It's like once they get set in their ways, they're not trying to do nothing. So I'm like, yeah, okay, you go right on ahead and do that. When she tried to apply for a home loan, same shit. It's like, no, the first thing they want to do is check your credit history. Had she listened to me, she might have been able to build up her credit history in those couple of years. Didn't listen to me, didn't build up a credit history. Guess who's still living in an apartment? Not me. Not me. I'm in my house. I got a ceiling fan right up there right now. Try to tell them, but you can't tell these people nothing. I don't know what it is. Even though young adults' credit scores often dovetail closely with their parents' credit scores. And by the way, I'd like to just say real quickly, my credit score is at 850 first. I started telling my parents how to deal with credit. Like, for example, I was teaching them how I was going on these fabulous business class vacations and how I saved up rewards points in order to do that. I fixed my parents' credit, because they didn't understand credit that much either. And I was like, no, listen, you got to pay these fucking bills off. Stop running revolving debts. You need to pay these bills off. You need to pay these bills $0 balance every fucking night. When they started listening to me, all of a sudden their credit shot up. They're above 800, but they are not at 850. I am still superior to them. But yeah, it's like if you listen, shit gets done. And sometimes your kids have to be the ones to tell you because you just don't know how the system works. I don't know. All right, so anyway, it says even though young kids' credit often dovetails with their parents' scores, many institutions treat credit scores as personal measures of financial savvy and character. There's this idea out there that somewhere your credit score is a marker of how responsible and moral of a person you are. That's kind of what I've been telling you for like the last however long I've been talking. Chi Wu, a senior attorney at the National Consumer Law Center, told me hiring managers study credit reports to evaluate an applicant's ethics. You see what I'm talking about? Your credit score is now being used to determine whether or not you can get a fucking job. Now, black man as I am, when I walk in there, like some black people be like, oh, well, I walked in and they treated me racistly and all this. Yeah, listen, when I went to buy my house, I went to this place. It was in Bethpage, or where was that shit? It wasn't Bethpage. It was, it was like way out there or whatever. It was deep in Long Island. Bottom line is, the first thing they going to ask for is your social security number because they're going to pull your credit. Anticipating that, I was ready to give them my social security number. I was also ready to give them, 4 years worth of tax returns, because that's the next thing they're going to ask for. When you're applying for a home loan, they're looking for tax returns because they need to prove that you've actually been making a certain amount of money. See, the thing about it, I think this is one of the problems with a lot of people. A lot of people have gotten so used to lying, but they don't seem to understand numbers don't lie. When I hand you my social security number and you pull up that credit score, all that bullshit you were talking 5 minutes ago, oh yeah, well I think my credit's doing great. Yeah, my credit's wonderful. Then they pull that shit up and it says 630. It's like, no, it's not. Your credit's not wonderful. Your credit's fucking 630. Or when you get them tax returns, they're like, yeah, excuse me, how much money do you make a year? People start lying. Oh, well, I made about 60,000, 70,000, 80,000. They pull up that credit report. It's like, well, the federal government says that this is how much you made gross income. People don't like that shit. Numbers don't lie. But when you try to apply now for anything, when you try to apply for a job, when you try to apply for a car loan, when you try to apply for car insurance, when you try to apply for home insurance, when you try to apply for a home loan, a mortgage, when you try to apply for just about anything, they checking them numbers. They don't trust a goddamn thing you're saying. They don't want to hear a word out of your mouth. All you got to do is give me them social security number. What is it? 9 digits. Is it 9 digits? Whatever. You got to give them that social security number. As soon as you give them that social security number, that will determine how they treat you for the remainder of your conversation. Because if that shit comes back and it says 500 FICO, you can guarantee they're going to be very quick to be showing your ass the door. If it comes back above 800, now we can have a conversation. It's not about racism. It's about what does that number say. But that's what it comes down to. I'm sorry. That's where we are. And you know what's kind of funny? China implemented a social number credit system or some shit. And it was funny because Americans were talking down about it when they heard about it. They were like, oh, so the government gets to grade you based on who you are and what you do and your behavior and all. It's like, yeah, what do you think the FICO system here does? It does the same exact shit. It literally does the same shit. If you're telling me that you're going to check my credit score before you're willing to give me a job, yeah, it does the exact same shit. We have the exact same system. It's just that it looks different in one place compared to here. All right, so what does it say? In reality, however, your score does not reflect your virtuousness. I would argue, yeah, it does. But anyway, it's easier for those with an economic cushion to meet payments, obviously, and harder for those without that wiggle room. See, here's the problem. You're not supposed to be trying to take out debt if you don't have that wiggle room. If you're not making enough money to buy things, then you shouldn't be buying things. There's certain things you shouldn't be buying. But if you're trying to buy things that you absolutely can't afford, yeah, you absolutely need credit. Anyway, especially if they have a lower credit score and are charged more for things such as car loans and home mortgages. Absolutely. It's just a vicious cycle. It's not a vicious cycle. You know what you're looking at right here with this credit score system? And it was funny because the Biden administration, they wanted to get rid of credit scores, but I think they talked that jazz aloud for a little while, and then they realized that nothing they said was going anywhere. What you're looking at is basically checks and balances. You're looking at a check and a balance for capitalism, basically. This is a check and a balance for capitalism. Yeah, you have a right to go out and buy just about whatever you want to buy. There are some restrictions, obviously. But yeah, you have a right to go into Macy's and buy whatever Macy's has. The problem is you may not have the money to do it. And if you don't have the money to do it and you try to apply for credit, well, now they're going to check your credit score. And if they think that, you know what, I don't think this person should have this $4,000 Birkin bag, then you're not getting it. Not because of your race, not because of your gender, not because of your skin color. Really, it's because of the content of your character. Like, you're not paying your bills back on time. That's kind of the content of your character. But it's a check and a balance. That's what it really comes down to. You know what I've realized within the last couple of years, watching this government, watching the Trump, Biden, Hillary saga. People don't like checks and balances. They really don't. They say they do, but when it works against them, they really don't. Like the same people who claim that they like checks and balances, they hate the fact that Trump was able to even run for president and be able to get in there, despite the fact the Constitution basically allowed him to do it. They act like, it's a different type of system for different people. No, the fucking Constitution literally said this. You just didn't read it. I don't want to divert too much, but that right there, that's the story right there. There is a little bit more. It says many people probably don't think about all of this when they clear their credit card balances each month. I do. But Case's research background has prompted her to be more attentive to the ways in which credit scores shape who has access to the American economy. Everybody has access to the American economy. Everybody. You're really not supposed to have to rely on credit except for two things: car loans and home loans. But if you're screwing up your credit over Time Warner Spectrum Television or Sprint Nextel or Apple, if you're screwing up your credit for stupid shit, I don't know what to tell you. The question is, why are you spending $190 or whatever it is at AT&T or Verizon or T-Mobile when you could just as easily go get a Boost mobile phone and pay $50 a month? Huh? But you're not willing to make that sacrifice, so I don't know what to tell you. If you're willing to let your credit go under because you have to have a Birkin bag, a Gucci, Prada, Femi, totes, or whatever the fuck, if you're willing to let your credit go to shit because of that stuff, I don't know what to tell you. If you're rolling up into there for a Range Rover or a Mercedes GLE AMG or a BMW M Sport Competition M Badge, this with carbon fiber wheels and this, that, and other, I don't know what to tell you. I really don't know what to say. But it says it's hard to trace the logic behind her credit experience or anyone else's because the whole system is opaque. No, it's not. The system is very, very transparent. Your problem is you're not abiding by the rules. I did. That's why I have an 850 and you don't. It says she told me she can't know how much of a boost being an authorized user gave her. What she does know is that she didn't have a problem getting her first credit card or passing her first landlord's credit check. Hurdles that often hold back people with low or non-existent credit scores. And by the way, if you have excellent credit, more than likely a landlord will most likely be willing to rent to you. If you have shitty credit, chances are they're not going to want to rent to you. Not because of your color, not because of your gender, but probably because they don't trust you. And that number told them not to. So if you want to argue that the number is discriminating against you, well, I would say, yeah, it is. It is discriminating against you. It's basically telling them that you're a credit risk. I don't know what to say more than that. It says she may have just been starting out, but fair or not, she was already a step ahead. And this article was originally published at The Atlantic. So that's the story right there. It's a nice long story. This is the type of story that should be used to teach financial literacy. I don't really agree with this authorized credit user thing. I think that's a bad idea. I think you should be the only person on your credit. I think you should not have any co-signers. I think you should have no authorized users. But that's just me. And some people will try to come up with a million ways to argue against what I'm saying. But the bottom line is, I have an 850 credit score. What do you have? Because if your credit score is any less than 850, I ain't trying to hear what you're saying. I'm just not trying to hear it. I'm not trying to hear it, and I'm not trying to argue with you. If I'm at the top of the fucking mountain and you're not, I don't want to hear it. Because whatever you're saying, it's irrelevant. I'm sorry, it just is. And that's just what it is. It's like people need to get advice from the people who have shown that they're successful in something. If you're getting advice from the people who are not successful in something, then what good is that advice? Like, I don't know. I really don't know. So here you go. That's my credit score. 850, exceptional. And as you can see, if you go back a couple of months, it doesn't even waver. It doesn't go down, except when you get all the way back to January, because that's when I purchased my car. So when I purchased that Cadillac Lyric and I signed up for that lease with GM, I knew I was going to take a hit. And that was last year in January, and I took delivery January 2nd. But I quickly drove my score right back up. And as you can see, what is that? June, July, August, all the way through, it's nothing but 850. 850. I can't do better than that. There is no 22.5 points higher than me. That's what it is. So it says, let's see what they're offering. It says, hey, since we see that you have an 850, we'll give you, enjoy 21 months of our lowest intro APR with the Wells Fargo Reflect card. Now, you may have remembered I made a video talking about the Wells Fargo Autograph card, which I signed up for. I lost points, obviously. That's why I was driven so low to 813. And then I charged my entire vacation business class on ANA, flew over to Bali and Singapore. I charged that entire vacation. I charged a total of about $12,000. And I could just say it. And the reason why is because, I bought suits while I was over there. I had suits made. I know I put that in my videos. I had suits made. It was business class. The business class round tickets alone, the round trip tickets alone, keeping everything business class, ANA and KLM. KLM flew me from, from Bali to Singapore, and then from Singapore back to Haneda, I was taking ANA. That round trip alone was like $8,000. Now, the rest of what I'm talking about is money that I spent on like the hotel. Well, okay, so the round trip with the hotel, that was like $8,300, I think. The rest of the money I spent, I probably spent about $3,000 or $4,000 while I was over there. And I'll say at least $1,000 of that was on suits that I had tailor-made over there. 2 tuxedos and 2 suits or something like that. I even had some shoes made. I paid all of that $12,000 back. And I paid it back before it was due. I had 1 year to pay it back, because you see how they offer you 21 months of no interest? Oh, no. I'm going to pay that off early. I paid it all off early. I wasn't going to wait until the end and wait and then say, oh, yeah, well, I'm going to pay it back, right before it's due. Fuck that. No. I paid that shit off months early. Go down here to payment history, exceptional. Current debts, exceptional, obviously, because I don't have any. Credit history, exceptional. New credit applications, very good. So that's the one thing that's not exceptional, but obviously that's because I leased a car and I took out a new credit card. So when you do 2 hard inquiries on your credit, that kind of drives your score down a little bit, which I've already explained. Down from 850 to 813, all the way back up to 850. When it says types of credit, yes, I'm exceptional in that. And the reason why is because I have not only, and this one's a little tricky. The thing about it is when they say types of credit, they're talking about not only do you have credit cards, but do you have car loans and do you have home loans? When you have a home loan or a car loan, that helps in that category where it says types of credit. So that's me right there. I should be teaching fucking financial literacy. I really should. I wouldn't mind doing it. But the problem is, I don't want to stand there and I've got people who aren't really listening to me. I don't want to stand there telling you about all the shit that you shouldn't buy and then you just get up and walk out. I don't want to waste my time. I don't want to argue with people about financial literacy. I just don't want to do it. Like every time I hear somebody say that, like, oh yeah, well, we should have financial literacy. It's like, and I hear that more and more these days because a lot of people, the problem is these corporations have bought up all the houses and they've made it so that not only can't you buy a house, but your kids can't either. And now everybody, oh, well, I get turned down. Yeah. Well, guess what? The bank is not going to let you take out a $700,000 loan when you've never held a mortgage before. And I'm not going to blame people for that specifically, because the reality is, thanks to your Biden administration and thanks to the Federal Reserve combined, the average price of a starter home within just the last 5 years, a starter home went from $300,000 or less to more than $500,000, $500,000 to $600,000. And I can't blame people for that, so I'm not going to blame anybody specifically for that. But the reality is, it happened. And the thing about it is, I have so many friends and family, and I kept telling them, I was like, yeah, you need to buy a house, you need to buy a house. And this was during the Trump administration. This was 2018. Soon as COVID hit, it was all over. House prices went through the roof. So now what you've got is a lot of people who are applying for home loans and can't get them. Nobody's lending you $700,000 for a starter home. It's not going to happen. What they will do is they'll say, oh, okay, well, you're going to have to put $100,000 down, or you're going to put, when they say, you got to put like $70,000 down, or they go up even higher, they say $100,000 down, they want to make sure that you have significant skin in the game. Most people who have $70,000 to $100,000 down, they're not going to walk away from that. But unfortunately, that's where we are. When I got my house, what was it? This house that I'm in right now, 2018 Veterans Day, I closed. 2018 on Veterans Day. I only had to put down like $30,000. I wrote a check for like $30,000, but I had $50,000 saved up. So out of that $50,000, because I assumed, I was like, yeah, okay, so if the house is around $300,000 or $400,000, I'm going to probably need about $30,000 to $40,000. So sure enough, I wrote a check for like $30,000. And then I took like $10,000 and I bought all my appliances for Black Friday. So I closed on Veterans Day, but as soon as Black Friday sales were there, which they were, I was like, yeah, okay, because Veterans Day was like the 11th, if I'm not mistaken, of November or something. And I went out and bought all my appliances. And when I bought my appliances, did I pay cash? Of course not. I bought all my appliances, used my credit card, and then paid them all off instantaneously. It got to the point where the banks were looking at me like, who the fuck is this guy? And the banks were trying to tell me to slow down. They're like, whoa, you don't have to pay all this right now. I was like, yes, I do. They didn't understand. They're like, yo, who the fuck is this guy? I could have walked into those banks. I could have walked in there half naked. There's nothing they could have done about it. They were like, yo, this guy's credit score is 850. It's like, yeah, get him some coffee. That's what I'm talking about. It's like, that's the thing. If you don't have a number like that, banks ain't trying to even look at you. They just not. It's got nothing to do with your skin color. It's got nothing to do with your gender. They know that based on your credit score, whether you're serious or not, it's just like when you go test drive a car. Some of these dealerships will not let you test drive a car until they've run your credit, because they want to see is this even a possible deal? And that's just what it is. Because nowadays they're not playing. They want to see them scores. And if you don't have a high score, it's like they ain't trying to talk to you. It's like, I'm sorry. That is what it is. So I guess that's all I have to say. I saw that story. Every time I see a credit story, it just drives me like into a frenzy, especially when I hear somebody talk about financial literacy. As soon as I hear that, it drives me crazy. I go into road rage mode. But that's just what it is. So I don't know. You could criticize, comment, or question or whatever, because I pretty much told everything there is to tell. So that's it for now.
Keep your damn mouth shut.
There it is.